Mainstream corporate media has done a lot of stupid stuff lately. Their ratings have gone down to almost nothing. And what are they doing? They're doubling down. They've now come out and told the American people that there's no such thing as election fraud and that nobody's ever been concerned about it in history, thinking we all have the memory of a goldfish.
I keep emphasizing it. Florida, the polls have closed. Florida goes for Al Gore. If we say somebody is carried a state, you can pretty much take it to the bank, book it, that that's true.
Speaker of the House of Florida was Tom Feeney, one of my first introductions to him, and he wanted us to build a vote flipping software.
It takes only a few seconds to insert a computer virus into this voting machine.
I stand by. CNN right now is moving our earlier declaration of Florida back to the too close to call column.
Of asking the Attorney General to pursue criminal and civil actions against Diebold in this matter, based on findings of fraudulent actions.
You didn't have to sit across the street in a truck. You could just sit there and punch a button, and the votes all flip.
George Bush is the president-elect of the United States. He has won the state of Florida, according to our projections.
The effort I have underway is simply to make sure that all the votes are counted.
Our presidential election came down to one state where the brother of the man running for president was the governor of the state.
Here's my boy.
According to the Washington Post, early evening exit polls pointed to a decisive win for Kerry.
Apparently what has happened is that the Associated Press, they were feeding numbers into us, and then suddenly those numbers changed. First of all, we want to find out what happened.
The leaked data revealed that in critical states, Kerry was ahead in the exit polls in 10 of the 12 swing states.
What I'm telling you is that the numbers changed, and sometimes these things happen.
And hundreds of thousands of votes shift, not in a progressive, incremental way, but in this almost complete, sudden, violent reversal.
This last Friday night, I arranged to meet Senator Kerry at a fundraiser to give him a copy of my book. He told me he now thinks the election was stolen. He said he doesn't believe that he's the person who can go out front on the issue because of the sour grapes, question. But he said he believes it was stolen. He says he argues about this with his Democratic colleagues on the Hill. He had just had a big fight with Christopher Dodd about it because he said, there's this stuff about the voting machines. They're really questionable. And Dodd was angry. I don't want to hear about it. I've looked into it. There's nothing there. Well, there's plenty there.
I raise this objection because I am convinced that we as a body must conduct a formal and legitimate debate about election irregularities. I raise this objection to debate the process and protect the integrity of the true will of the people.
So we do move into the 2008 election cycle with many of the same problems that we had going all the way back to 2000 and the fiasco in Florida.
Some electronic voting machines in West Virginia were selecting McCain when voters actually punched Obama. Yep.
Smartmatic and other voting machine companies are private companies. They have proprietary software that can call a trade secret.
Even the New York Times indicated last week that over 30% of the Acorn registrations are bogus, fraud, or fake. And that should be disconcerting to anyone who cares about free and fair elections.
All right,
the concern is that these fraudulent registrations are going to lead to fraudulent voting. And in a close race, whether it be in Ohio or Nevada or elsewhere, this is where this Acorn scandal, I think, is going to have a potentially explosive impact on Election Day.
All right,
But of most concern, of course, are the separate computer systems that count and report actual votes. So far, no sign that any of those have been compromised.
Lapel conducted a demonstration where he actually changed the votes in the machine by swapping out the machine's computer chip for one that he programmed.
This black box is unaccountable, untestable, privately run software from the two companies that you have hired to count our votes. So when the votes come out of this black box, they do not reflect the New York City or the national votes. In 22 primaries, the votes have shifted in 20 of them. The exit polling data in New York State shifted 12%. A shift of 2% is fraud, according to the U.S. State Department. So that's what we've seen across the country.
I figured out how to make a slightly different computer program that just before the close of the polls, it shifts some votes around from one candidate to another.
The work we did to prepare for Hillary Clinton to be our nominee and then make sure that we could get her elected president is absolutely critical to advancing the issues.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean?
Thank you for showing concern for the integrity of our election system here in the United States, because the fate of this nation affects the rest of the world. Now, election fraud throughout history has been well documented. And the fact that the mainstream media tries to act like that Donald Trump is crazy, that he's been raising it, shows just how disconnected the mainstream media is.
Donald Trump's biggest lie is about the election itself, the integrity of the election. He is alleging a massive conspiracy.
That somewhere between 2 and 5%
Betsy, please,
of illegal voters vote.
We've cited
Those
so much
were
evidence on...
registered
Stop, or I'm going to have to cut this interview short.
You don't want people to hear the evidence?
It's not... I have presented the evidence to my viewers, and my viewers trust me to tell them the truth. We've cited studies. I've talked to secretaries of state who are Republicans. I've talked to many Republican officials who say there's not widespread fraud.
Secretaries of state are elected. They're part of the system.
Back in August, InfoWars first raised this issue because we had seen the Democratic Party steal the nomination from Bernie Sanders, and the Republican Party had just tried to do the same thing with Donald Trump unsuccessfully, because Trump fought back against it. So I put out an emergency message to Donald Trump, and I told him personally that I thought it was very important for him to raise the alarm that we, the people, would be watching this election very, very closely. And Trump told me he absolutely agreed, and he was already on it.
They even want to try and rig the election at the polling booths where so many cities are corrupt. And you see that.
The system, folks, is rigged. First of all, it's rigged. And I'm afraid the election's going to be rigged. I have to be honest.
Regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, this is about the integrity of our elections. Clearly, the 2000 election was stolen from Al Gore, and I was no fan of Gore. But at the time, we broke that down and had experts on, like Bev Harris, of black box voting, to prove it. She then went on to help produce and direct the award-winning HBO documentary, Hacking Democracy.
Okay, we're in. Now, this is the official program that the county supervisor sees. As we can see here, Howard Dean has 1,000 votes, and Lex Luthor has 500. So you're beating Lex Luthor, and we're
2-1.
Yes, and Tiger Woods, unfortunately, doesn't have any votes yet.
All right.
Go to Central Tabulator Votes, and then go to the sum of the candidates, which is that table. You see we have 800 votes here for you and 400 for Lex Luthor. Let's just flip those. We'll make that 400. And we'll give 100 votes to Tiger. Let's just see what happened here. We'll go back into Gems the legitimate way. And as you can see now, Howard Dean only has 500 votes. Lex Luthor has 900 and Tiger Woods has 100 votes. We just edited an election. It took us 90 seconds.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean?
Laid out before me is just a small sampling of mainstream news, video clips, C-SPAN, Hillary's own words, John Kerry's own words, Al Gore's own words, certified cases of fraud in Ohio against John Kerry. I mean, this has all gone on. This is all on record. And again, how does the media sit there with a straight face, ask Donald Trump if he's concerned about the election process, and then act like he's crazy because he is?
Clearly the headline, Donald Trump saying he may not accept the result of this presidential election.
One of the most stunning things I've ever heard in a presidential debate ever. And to suggest that he might not accept the results of the election that we're about to hold in fewer than 3 weeks was staggering. And I don't think it helped him.
If liberals really are liberals, then they have to have a memory, be cogent, be honest, and not lie to themselves and everybody else and act like that Trump's really stepped in it because he talked about the elephant in the room. The latest piece of information we have about how our republic and our right to vote is being undermined is from the FBI, not even WikiLeaks, with the big data dump they put out last week, where a shadow government, that's their words, or a seventh floor, is shielding Hillary from prosecution by the FBI and the bureaucracy. So we already have an unelected group running the nation. During the final debate in Vegas, Donald Trump raised the fact that Pew Research had a new report this year showing more than 20 million fraudulent voter registrations in the United States and over 4 million people that are either dead or who have been registered to vote repeatedly.
But let me give you some numbers to really bring that home. According to Pew, 24 million people, 1 of every 8, voter registrations in the U.S. are no longer valid or significantly inaccurate. More than 1.8 million dead people are listed as voters. So you could use that name to go ahead and vote. Approximately 2.75 million people, 2.75 million people are registered in more than one state. So
what we're fighting here is what George Orwell called doublethink, where you can hold 2 separate ideas in your mind at the same time that are completely in opposition to each other, but believe both of them. And that's what we've seen from Obama. He comes out and counters myself and Trump a few months ago and says there's no such thing as election fraud. Nobody's ever heard of that.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean? The federal government doesn't run the election process. States and cities and communities all across the country, they're the ones who set up the voting systems and the voting booths. And if Mr. Trump is suggesting that there is a conspiracy theory that is being propagated,
then within 2 weeks, Homeland Security comes out and says we're federalizing the elections to protect it from Russia and Donald Trump.
There are some short-term, long-term things I think that we should do to bolster the cybersecurity around the election process. I am considering communicating with election officials across the country about best practices.
And Obama continues to come out every couple of days saying there's no such thing as election fraud. Quit whining Trump. And then the next night at the debate, Hillary comes out and says that the Russians are trying to take over the election yet again with no proof.
Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks for the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election.
So there's no election fraud whenever Donald Trump raises the concern. It's never happened in history, but simultaneously in the same speeches, we're told our election is in great peril and the Democrat-controlled DHS has to take it over. And we now have Hillary's chief of staff, Podesta, caught in new WikiLeaks emails trying to grease the skids for illegal aliens to vote and get driver's license. And then it only gets more flagrant. Project Veritas, with James O'Keefe, in a year-long investigation, has top Democratic Party operatives, national heads of major organizations on video saying, we're going to bust people in to vote over and over again, and there's nothing anybody can do because we control the media, we control the courts. I mean, this is like something out of a Perry Mason movie where they are literally shaking like criminals saying, the world is ours, we're taking over the legislatures, nobody can stop us. I mean, in Hollywood movies, this would bring down the whole criminal enterprise, but not in America, not in the real world, because the media and the courts are so controlled, and the criminals know that.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their.
Wherever Trump and Pence are going to be, we have a bench.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. My role with the campaign is to manage all that.
The mainstream corporate media is totally blacking out the reports he's putting out that are the biggest in their storied history. He has top Democratic officials, top operatives saying, we're stealing elections, we're engaged in election fraud, we're busting people around, we're going to do it, we're above the law.
We were trending on Twitter, we're the #1 trending video on YouTube worldwide, we're the #1 trending thing on Facebook over the last 24 hours. What you are seeing is something I never thought I would say. You are seeing social media and the grassroots in this country more powerful than the mainstream media. We are the social media barbarians at the gates, and we have inundated their inboxes. The New York Times is now forced to cover it. The Washington Post was forced to cover it.
All Americans, regardless of race, color, creed, political persuasion, need to support Trump as a referendum against the corporate fascism we see taking root in this nation. Major polls and studies are conclusive. The vast majority of Americans, over 70%, no matter what race, color, or creed, believe that there is major election and voter fraud happening in this country, and they want IDs to be used to be able to vote. It's just that simple. If you have any integrity as a so-called Democrat, or anybody else for that matter, you should be outraged by the media trying to lie to you and act like Donald Trump is a kook or a crazy person when he has the courage to talk about the fact that they're clearly trying to steal the election. The media piling on, the disinformation, all the fake polls Reuters and CNN have been caught in, where they sample way more Democrats than Republicans. This is unprecedented corruption. And to see the media so persecuted by Obama and Hillary, lined up like sycophantic minions, throwing themselves at them in their disdain for the American people, is truly despicable. Hillary, her minions, and controllers are on megalomaniac power trips right now. And history is repeating itself. They're saying they want to persecute the alt-right press. Well, folks, if you let the alt-right press get shut down today, it's going to be you tomorrow. Where are the real liberals out there? Or do you not exist? Are you on too big of a power trip imagining this huge utopia that we're going to have once you're in full control and all the opposition's been silenced?
And I got the chance to meet the people who are working so hard to get her elected. There they are, the heads of NBC, CNN, CBS, ABC. There's the New York Times right over there, and the Washington Post.
We have to keep putting out a message, and we need to call on everybody to speak out about the fact that we run elections and we run them well here.
You know what? We've been busting people in for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
I am very proud to announce the introduction of the highest quality InfoWars Biome Defense Probiotic. We wanted to come out with the largest spectrum of high quality known probiotics that have been proven to improve overall digestion and health and detoxification in the body. Biome Defense is an exclusive blend of 50 billion live and active cultures from over 23 different probiotic strains that are known to support digestion and intestinal function. Our researchers are confident that we have been able to develop what will be the leading probiotic on the market. Secure your Biome Defense in ultra strength or regular strength at InfoWarsLife.com today and get started supporting your digestive system naturally. We've been testing this formula for years, but this is the limited first run to the public, so please take advantage of it today. Support your own health and support the InfoWar.